All right, we are starting everyone's favorite series. All right, maybe not everyone, but I know a lot of you do like this series where I basically project the top Rams and their stats. And I know people love stats, so we're going to start off with Matthew Stafford. And before we do, here is a word from my partner, Mint Mobile. Do you ever find yourself going, why is my bill so high? Well, that's exactly why I'm partnering with today's sponsor, Mint Mobile. You probably have already seen Ryan Reynolds' funny ads, but I'm going to tell you why I believe this is a great service. Mint offers a premium wireless as low as $15 a month plan that doesn't sacrifice any speed, coverage, or data. They are built on the largest 5G network, and they sell directly to you online to keep their costs low and cut out the middleman in between. Why should you pay more for access to the same network? Click the link in my description or scan the QR code if you're interested in the best value in wireless. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, as well as a free mobile hotspot and lightning fast 5G. Mint also offers a super affordable family plan for as little as 2 lines. If you find yourself on the go a lot, Mint's service is going to be great to watch YouTube, listen to podcasts, and even stream games. You might be asking yourself, how long is this going to take for me to switch? Should I even bother? Well, actually, it's super easy to switch. Mint has digital eSIM cards that allow you to sign up right from your home and get everything set up without ever having to go to the store. But if for whatever reason you have a phone that doesn't work with that, Mint will send you a SIM card free of charge. Oh, and it only takes about 15 minutes to switch to Mint Mobile, and they have a great customer service team waiting there in case you need any sort of help whatsoever. And now, as an extra special offer for my channel, if you sign up before July 14th, you can get the $30 unlimited plan for as little as $15 per month. It's already incredibly low price, but that's 50% off that said price and making it $15 instead of $30 a month. So you could use that $15 extra on whatever you want. To set you up, I've put the link in the description, the comments section, and on screen. It's mintmobile.com/JKB if you want that very exclusive deal. And just a reminder, it only takes 15 minutes to pay as low as $15 per month on your phone bill. It's really that simple. All right, so we are back. We are going to be talking about Matthew Stafford. And look, I'm just going to preface this with this, okay? This is a guy who people are starting to be sold on that he's washed. And it's over for him. 9 games last year, a 3-6 record, 68% completion percentage, which is a career high, but 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. It wasn't a Matthew Stafford type of season, right? I mean, the year prior, he has 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, over, almost 5,000 yards passing, and he wins the Super Bowl. Well, you have to also keep in mind, as great as Stafford's been throughout his career, as much as he's had to carry a team, I mean, we've seen it in the past. If you don't put guys around even talent, it's hard to succeed in this league. You have edge defenders running 4.3s coming off the edge now. You have guys like Aaron Donald in the interior. Maybe not Aaron Donald, but Chris Jones doesn't help. Guys like that. And so you have a pocket that is collapsing. You have receivers that you need to be on the same page with, which, speaking of receivers that, not on the same page with, Allen Robinson, the marquee free agent signing who didn't really get to build any sort of rapport with Matthew Stafford before they were kind of thrown into the fire together. Matthew Stafford missed almost all of training camp. For the most part, it was John Wolford throwing to Allen Robinson. And so they didn't really get a chance to build any sort of rapport. And then they were thrown into the fire in the Bills game and so forth. So, look, offensive line couldn't stay healthy. Minimal rapport there with Allen Robinson. Van Jefferson starts the season injured. Tutu Atwell wasn't really given the opportunity. He's coming off an injury. They don't feel really confident in him early in the season to be the guy. Although, ironically enough, the last touchdown pass thrown in the entire season by Stafford was to Tutu Atwell as he was kind of coming into his own. But, basically, this was a weaker Rams offense or weaker Rams roster than we're used to. And I think they had the talent, but they dealt with a lot of injuries. And if your offensive line isn't healthy, it doesn't really matter what you do. So, look, we're going to go into it. Stafford, I have 374 to 550. And what I mean by that, I have 374 completions in 550 attempts, which puts him at tying his last year career high in 68 completion percentage. I believe we're still going to get that Stafford. I believe, he has gotten more accurate, recently. People say what they will about the interceptions, but to me, accuracy is determined based on consistency, how well you can throw the tight window. And I'm sorry, but the people that are saying he's washed or, he's got a noodle arm, you haven't done your research and watched the tape. The tape speaks for itself. I saw Derek Klassen, who is somebody that I respect his opinion a lot. He's like a quarterback guru on Twitter. He used to write for Turf Show Times and Rams Wire and so forth. So, he was charting Stafford's throws, and even he has a nice, Twitter, thread basically breaking it all down, saying, wow, I came away feeling better about Stafford than I did going into it. And I just think it's become almost a tired trend here where, everyone's trying to count Stafford out and they're counting the Rams out. But in reality, I think 68% completion percentage makes a lot of sense to predict for Stafford. I think when you look at last year, he was really quick to get the ball out. I think just the problem is there wasn't really anybody to threaten any secondaries. Allen Robinson had the most yards of separation of any receiver, but they weren't really on the same page. Didn't have a lot of time, so he went with his trusty, his sidekick, right? Cooper Kupp. So I can't really blame him for that. And not having Van Jefferson really changed the dynamic there. You didn't really have a flanker receiver. And so because you didn't have that and Tutu Atwell wasn't quite ready yet, you were kind of thrown in the fire. And so, I think 68% completion percentage makes sense. We saw the accuracy. I have 4,451 yards, a little bit less than, obviously his best year with the Rams, his first year. I think they're probably not going to throw as much. And what I mean by that is, I like the idea. 550 sounds like a good number. I don't see close to 700 passes. I do think they're going to try to keep Stafford upright, and they're going to try to keep him out of harm's way. You have to make him last the whole season or your season's over. I like Stetson Bennett, and I think if he had to play, he could win a couple games. But anyone expecting that rookie to come in and immediately just, take control of the offense and have no sort of hiccups is kidding themselves. You want Stafford there. Their only chance of getting to the playoffs and winning games is with Stafford. So, I think to do that and keep him upright and, keep him out of harm's way, running the ball a little bit more with Cam Akers, running the ball a little bit with Sony Michel and Kyron Williams and Zach Evans. I think the Rams, adding 2 running backs in the offseason this year and Zach Evans in the draft. And then, of course, you have, Sony Michel, who they just signed. I think that speaks volumes to, hey, we want to run the ball a little bit more. And another thing, the dump offs. Don't be afraid. Stafford, if it's not deep down the field, dump it off to Cam, dump it off to Kyron, dump it off to Zach Evans, dump it off to Sony Michel. This is a offensive coordinator in Mike LaFleur who uses the running backs as pass catchers out of the backfield. Michael Carter, you look at Zonovan Knight, you look at Breece Hall, the way they were used, all sorts of guys, Ty Johnson. He uses running backs as pass catchers out of the backfield. So I think they're going to try to make it easier on Stafford. And so I think that, he'll take a little bit of a hit in terms of production in the receiving or the yard game. I have 35 touchdowns. Look, I don't think it's crazy to, assume that Stafford goes for 40. I don't think it's crazy to assume he's going over 30 guaranteed. I think if he stays healthy, there's no doubt in my mind Stafford is going to have over 30 touchdowns in the season. I have no doubt about that. As long as he plays enough games for that to even be possible. I think when you look at that report with Cooper Kupp, I think you can pretty much pencil in, at least 10 touchdowns there. And then, you have Van Jefferson. I think you can pencil in at least 5. So that's 15. And then 20, maybe half of those go to, a combination of Higbee and Tutu Atwell and Skoranek, and then some to the running backs. I really like the setup here for Stafford to hit 35 touchdowns. And my interceptions, I have 14. Stafford was on pace to have probably the most interceptions he's had in his career. Going into nine games, he had 8 interceptions or whatever. So he was on pace to get up there. But I think he's going to kind of change his approach a little bit this year. Still be a gunslinger. He's still a gunslinger. You can't take that away from him. But I don't expect him to be turning over the ball like crazy. And let's be honest here. There is this common misconception that, his 17 interceptions is too much the year they win the Super Bowl. And Josh Allen had 15, and we didn't hear a thing. There was no peep about that. Burrow was up there. Some of the best passers in the league were right in that conversation. And all anybody wanted to talk about is, well, Stafford threw 17 interceptions. It was a bad stretch in November where they didn't win a game. That's really where most of that came from. But I'm not really worried. I mean, shooters shoot, right? We talk about, like how, Kobe Bryant would just shoot, and like sometimes that field goal percentage wouldn't be great, right? You talk about guys like that, volume shooters, just shooters shoot. Well, passers pass, gunslingers, shoot as well. And so I think, you got to be a little bit more understanding. Like, yeah, if Stafford's going to play that style of game, he's going to have more interceptions. He's taking more chances down the field. Whereas somebody that's going to throw around the line of scrimmage and so forth, they're not going to take as many risks. Therefore, they shouldn't be throwing that many interceptions. So I have 14 for Stafford. I think he'd sign up for a 35-14 season, 4,400 yards, 68 completion percentage. And then I have 103 passer rating when you do the math. And I just think we're in for a really good year, really good bounce back year for Stafford. And I don't think that past season, the one he's coming off of, I don't think it was going to be a bad year. I think he was turning it around in the Saints game, and unfortunately he gets another injury, and that's all she wrote. So, I think there are a lot of people that look at just that for face value, but there were still 8 games left to play, and he was starting to build a rapport. And honestly, the season's completely different. If they win that game against the Saints, and he's, able to play against the Chiefs and so forth, I mean, they played well towards the end of the year with Baker. They were in just about every game except for, you could argue the Chargers game. But, I think if Stafford is available, they might have made a little bit of a push for the playoffs if, obviously if he was available. And so I think that's still like lost on people. Like it's assumed like, no, it's Stafford. He's done. This is the same guy that has had injury after injury and just plays through them. I understand he's had some concerning stuff, but we have to remember the last time we saw him, he threw a bomb to Tutu Atwell for a touchdown. He was leading the Rams easily for a win in New Orleans over the Saints. They were winning that game. And then unfortunately he goes down and the game kind of just went off the rails a little bit. The Rams only ended up losing by 1 touchdown, but they didn't have the force. They didn't have the momentum. And I just think when you look at Stafford now, McVay has a lot to prove. Stafford had 8 games off. So that's another thing we're not looking at. Stafford and Cooper Kupp missing those games, that's a long break. They're going to be very fresh come this season. And I think that is a advantage here that is just not being talked about. You have your 3 best players on the Rams that essentially had some time off, that got to take the wear and tear off their bodies. And, albeit it was because of injury, they were still able to stay away from, the football field and just kick back and not necessarily relax, but rehab and, have that necessary time off. And I think that that's important since, the 3 best players on the team are arguably the oldest. And, I think, at the end of the day, Stafford, he has things going his way. This is not a stacked offense. Okay. This is an offense that has a chance to surprise people, but this offense is very, it's going to be heavy and leaning heavy on guys like Cam Akers to continue what he was doing at the end of last year. Guys like Ben Skoranek to continue what he was doing, the last time we saw him against the Raiders. Guys like Tutu Atwell. Hey, what you did at the end of last year, keep that up. And then it's going to actually have to, Van Jefferson is going to have to be able to play that consistent role as a starting receiver. You went out and you added Demarcus Robinson. You drafted Puka Nacua. You go out and you get Tyler Johnson. What does that mean? Who makes the roster? Does Lance McCutcheon make the roster? The preseason guy last year that was a hero in preseason. There's a lot of different things here. I think the underrated aspect is, You look at guys like Bryson Hopkins and Hunter Long and Davis Allen. Well, I think Allen is more of a draft and stash where he's for the future. I think Hunter Long and Bryson Hopkins could be in for a decent season, and they give, different looks for the offense. So I think really what it comes down to is this is not an offense that has Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins, Brandon Cooks, Odell Beckham Jr., and Todd Gurley. This is a different type of offense, but they went out, they got additional help on the outside of their coaching circle. They go out and they get Mike LaFleur, who brings that Shanahan, the little nuance that Shanahan had with that 49ers offense and his experience being the guy there. He brings it over the Rams. I think it was imperative for them to look outside of the organization. If they promoted from within, I mean, it's kind of from last year. You're not really solving anything, right? You're adding a new guy and you're moving him up, and that's great, and I'm all for it. But you want to get that outside perspective. I think it's a lot easier to go out, find a guy like Michael LaFleur, integrate him into what you do, and then let him kind of show you, hey, this is what I did. This is how we did things. So I think with everything being said, you have those additions, you have, in the coaching staff, you have the additions in the receiver room. The Rams are making an effort to make Stafford's life easier, and I think we are going to see the rewards from doing so. They didn't have to panic. They didn't have to draft a receiver in the second or third round, and they didn't. They like what they have. They're willing to, hedge it out another year with Van Jefferson. They're not going to trade him. I really don't believe so. And, he's in a contract year. It's not out of the question he comes back or not. Maybe not likely, but you have him playing for something. You have Cooper Kupp, who's had a lot of time off. Tutu Atwell's playing for something. Skoranek, Demarcus Robinson doesn't miss games. Model of consistency. Guy's always on the field. He can block. He does a lot of different things. So I really like where they're at right now, and the offensive line going out and getting Steve Avila, I think is going to add something to that offensive line. And if they stay healthy, they're a top 15 unit. And if they're a top 15 unit, then Stafford's going to have plenty of time to make things happen. So in conclusion, 68% completion percentage, 4,451 yards, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and a whopping 103 passer rating leads the Rams to a 10-7/11-6 season, shocking everybody, and goes to the playoffs and wins a playoff game. And I think that's what we can see and what we can expect from the LA Rams and Matthew Stafford in the 2023-24 season. But I'm curious what you guys think. You drop below. Does Matthew Stafford have a bounce back year? Is he washed? What is the deal? I want to hear from you guys. I want to read all the comments. No comment is too drastic, right? If you want to say he's washed, if you want to say you don't see it happening, if you think Stetson Bennett or somebody like that is going to take over, that's you. I'm interested to see where everybody in the fan base kind of stands. Best way to do that is the comment section. So that's going to do it for me. I appreciate it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. You can find more videos in this series. It's coming soon. We're going to go right through the order. We're going to go Cam Akers, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp. I've already calculated, the projections. I couldn't do everybody, but, I think I have a pretty good list and a pretty good idea of how I wanted to do this. So we're starting off big with quarterback Matthew Stafford, and maybe we'll do some defensive players as well, but right now I'm focusing on offense. Thank you guys. Until next time, I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.